A very warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining us. This is Platform on the network service of the NTA. I'm Ruth Aguele. Small and medium-scale enterprises have been identified as the catalyst for economic growth and national development for both developed and developing countries, Nigeria inclusive. And in Nigeria, SMEs contribute 48% of national gross domestic product, which account for 96% of businesses and 84% of employment. Now, despite this significant contribution to the Nigerian economy, challenges still persist that hinder the growth and development of the sector. Now, MSMEs, if you want to call it that way, small businesses also drive innovation, and you cannot but acknowledge the entrepreneurial spirit of many Nigerians. But for MSMEs to thrive effectively, there must be an enabling environment and optimal implementation of policies. This is where the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, SMEDAN, comes in. It was established by the SMEDAN Act of 2003 to promote development of the MSMEs sector of the Nigerian economy. Now, the agency positions itself as a one-stop shop for MSME development. Part of its mandate, as contained in the Enabling Act, includes stimulating, monitoring and coordinating the development of MSME's sub-sector, initiating and articulating policy ideas for small and medium enterprises, growth and development, of course. But the big question is, how then has SMEDAN ensure MSMEs are well coordinated and yielding results for economic viability? Harnessing MSMEs for national development is our focus on Platform today, and our guest is Mr. Olawale Tunde Fasonya, the Director General and the Chief Executive Officer of Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, SMEDAN. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right, so you know how we do it on Platform. We have to take you through the profile of our guest so you have a background knowledge of who this man is. His appointment took effect from 6th June 2022. Less than 2 months, you say. For now, Mr. Olawale hails from Osun State, southwest Nigeria. Mr. Fasonya is a seasoned technocrat and a certified business development advisor with a proven track record of landmark accomplishments of 35 years in the MSME ecosystem in Nigeria. He holds a Bachelor's of Arts, English and Literary Studies from the prestigious University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University, Ife, in 1985. Advanced Certificate in Public Relations, Nigerian Institute of Journalism, that was in 1990. Masters in Public Administration, Lagos State University, in 1994, Diploma in Market-Oriented Small Business Development Service, International Training Center of International Labour Organization, ILO, that's in Italy, in 2008, and presently expecting its PhD in Public Policy Analysis and Management, University of America. Mr. Fasonya started his working career as an editor and administrative officer. He was among those that formed the nucleus of pioneer staff of the SMEDAN, that was in 2003, where he served as Special Assistant to the Pioneer Director General, Mrs. Modukbe Adelaja. He also served as Acting Director General of SMEDAN, that was between July to December 2008. He has served in various capacity in SMEDAN, so you know he has wealth of experience in that field. He's a member of different bodies: International Council for Small Business, ICSB, member International Small Business Entrepreneur, associate member Nigeria Institute of Public Relations, associate member Nigerian Institute of Management. That's quite a handful, Mr. Fasonya, but let's leave it there. Thank you once again for joining us on Platform.
Thank you very much.
We have a panelist on the program, and she is our business desk correspondent, Moplank Dakok. Moplank, it's nice to have you on Platform.
Thank you so much, Ruth.
And this will be your first time on Platform.
This is my first time on Platform, and it's actually good to be here.
Thank you very much for coming. All right, so Mr. Fasonya, when we're looking at micro, small, medium enterprises in Nigeria, there's a whole lot to harness for national development. They pride themselves talking about SMEs as the catalyst for growth and development, which is actually glaring. But from your assessment and as a technocrat when it comes to managing the affairs of SMEs, what would you say you find quite interesting in the Nigerian space?
Well, thank you very much. In the Nigerian space, when we're talking of MSME development, there are quite a number of interesting things. But the most important one is that we found out that most Nigerians just go into business based on perception, instead of trying to build capacity before going into business.
Yeah.
You know, they feel my neighbor has a poultry and is buying cars. I also want to go into poultry business. They wouldn't bother to know whether it's not the poultry business that produced the cars.
Yes.
So we find this quite interesting, and it has taken us time to let them know that, look, you need capacity to run business, and that's the gap the agency is filling. Most people feel, once I just have money, let me go into business.
Yes.
And they don't try to find out why some businesses die at infancy.
True.
In fact, from research, most small businesses, they die within the first 3 years because
Some don't
the
even get to
owners
3 years.
Don't even get to 3 years. So this is one area that we found very interesting. But between 2003, when the agency came on board, we've been able to change the scenario to certain levels. You know, at least a lot of people now know the importance of building capacity, the importance of matching financial with non-financial services in running their business.
Now, let's narrow it down to SMEDAN. Your role is to coordinate the affairs of MSMEs in Nigeria, and you do this registration, you get the data and all of that to ensure that they thrive effectively in Nigeria. From your assessment, would you say we're on the right path in, ensuring that our MSMEs are doing very well?
Yeah, we're quite on the right path because when the agency came into being, we actually benchmarked some other developing countries like ours. Okay. And based on what we found out there, we design programs to suit our own purpose. And when you are looking at MSME development, it's twofold. We have programs that address building the competitiveness of those already in business.
Yes.
And then we have programs that address startups, our youths that are just out of school that want to go into business.
Okay.
So it is a combination of these that assist in enhancing, MSME development and contribution to GDP, which you mentioned earlier.
Okay, so Muplang, I'm sure you want to come in now.
Yes, you talked about startups. You talked about how many of them fail even within the first 3 years. I would say that most of the time it is lack of access to finance or shortage of finance. What have you done about financing MSMEs? Have you been able to build them to be able to access finance? Because sometimes the finance is available, but it's another thing for them to be able to access it. What are you doing about it?
Well, it's not even sometimes. Most times the finance is there, but people don't have what it takes to access them. And we have tried a lot to fill this gap, to assist MSMEs when we are convinced that what you really need is money.
Okay.
Because it's not all the time that they know that they need to build capacity before they start thinking of money. And we also discourage people that are just going into business to start with a loan. No. Try and see what you can muster within yourselves, family and friends, money that will not give you sleepless nights. So that if you now start small, then you think big. So when you are expanding and you need to access loan, that's where we come in to assist you, maybe to put together your business plan, to assist you to approach some of the banks that we know have very low interest rates, single digits, because we won't advise you to go to commercial banks, And then even then, commercial banks don't even want to touch the nano and the micro businesses. So we leave commercial banks to take care of the small and medium. While this nano and the micro, we try to encourage them to access funds from development banks, from microfinance institutions that we know they can easily pay back. And to address this gap, because along the line, we find out that when you now build your capacity, it becomes difficult for you to access funds. So we also now came up with some programs that have a component of funding.
Okay.
You know, we now match fund with some banks so that we can defray the interest rates. We now have some kind of grant that we give the nano business, the one-man businesses, you know. And then we now have programs that will help you to get equipment, and then we give you little working capital, and then you pay back 70%, we write off 30%, just to assist people in that category. And recently we got some business members organizations to come together with us. Before the end of this year, we're going to roll out a microfinance bank that will be giving out money at single-digit interest rates. We're almost through with it. We believe by the first quarter of next year, you know, people will already, the services of the bank will be made available to the public. So these are some of the issues, some of the areas where we are assisting in terms of access to finance. We also have a portal that is called Credit Information Portal. So as an SME, you can go on that portal, see which bank has a friendly loan that you can access. What does it take? So that you don't need to start going from bank A to bank B. On that portal, you can easily know what are the requirements, what are the funding windows, because there are a number of banks now that give out money even without collateral.
Sure.
You just need somebody to guarantee you, and you can access funds. But the information is not out there. So we are also helping to bridge the information gap.
Because it's very critical. Back then, access to funding, like Moplang says, used to be a very major challenge for startups.
It is still a major challenge.
It's still a challenge because a lot of people don't know where to go when it comes to access, which is where SMEDAN comes to play. And your role basically is to link the receiver and the collector.
Yes.
So are they, how much is SMEDAN doing to ensure that this information is out there? Because it's one thing to know there is a policy on ground, but getting access to it is the problem.
That's what I just said. One.
What are you doing to ensure the information is there out in the public?
Let me just come in so that he can answer together. Because you talked about the nano businesses. You said there's something you're doing for them, apart from those bigger ones who can go to the bank. So you're doing something for them. So in line with what Ruth is asking, what exactly are you doing?
Okay, let me start with you. The nano businesses, I said we have some kind of grant. So a number of them are largely informal. These are one-man businesses who do not even have bank account, who does not have any business registration with CAC. So we have a program where we give them what we call conditional grants of 50,000. Okay. And then we open bank account for you, and we also get you to be registered. So we are in there somehow moving them from informality to being formal. You know, because now they now have a bank account,
yes.
They have CAC registration, and then we give them some level of training, and then we monitor them to see that at least after getting, because some of them we find out that their capital base is no more than 10, 20,000. So by the time you inject 50,000, we monitor you after training, and most times we find out that they now, within 3-4 months, they engage one person to help them in their business. You know, all these people, roadside, people that are selling, you know, virtually every household, within 2 houses, you will see one malam that is, you know, those people don't see anybody to help them.
Sure.
So we try to fill that gap. And in terms of getting information across, I told you we have a credit information portal. Apart from that, we have what we call business clinic in our offices, where somebody can walk in. I want to go into business. I don't know where I can access funds. I don't know where to start. We give you advisory services. And moving forward, this year, before the end of this year, we want to do more of field work. We want to get our staff to go out, to go and take the information to associations. You know, there are these small associations and they are together. Association of organizers, association of this, that, they are all over. So we will deal with associations. Cooperatives, we're already even handling cooperatives. Like the one local government, one product that we do where we give them machines to automate their business. Once you are in the same value chain of business and you are together as a cooperative, then we give you common facility. And then that's the one I said, you pay back 70%, we write off 30% so that we can take it to another group.
You know, it's because of what you said that it's still a challenge, access to funding. That's why I asked that question. Some people have access, you know, and they know about the portal, why some don't even know it exists.
Yes,
especially
that's why
people.
we will now go to you to provide advisory services.
Yes.
And we know a number of our people are into agribusiness. Now we now have an agribusiness department, and we call agribusiness and extension services. So we have officers who will go out there and let people have the information. Just, I think, day before yesterday, I addressed a group of secretaries of the government of all the states of the Federation. And I told them that, look, we need to work together with state government to have business information centers in all the local governments. So that if we have this business information center, we put all the information out there. So you don't need to leave your local government to go to the state capital where we have our office to get the required information. Okay. So these are some of the things we are bringing on board.
But before, I know Umuplan want to ask a follow-up to that, but Mr. Fasonya, would you say these people who are being given the loan, now talking about the ones who are not at the nano level, do they really pay back? I know SMEDAN is just a linkage to the provider and the collector, but you recommend these institutions to the SMEs. So do they really pay back?
It's actually a problem.
Okay.
Because especially once government is involved, you know, most of our SMEs feel it's also their own dividend of democracy. So it is affecting others, you know.
Yes.
There was an intervention fund that Japanese government gave some time ago, and we actually look for people that are already in business, people that genuinely needed money. Some people were able to access 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, up to like 5 million. We did not record up to 30% payback, despite the fact that they were to pay back without interest. It's just free money so that other people can benefit, you know, till today. So it's really a problem. But we are trying to now educate them. And then fortunately now, banks have something in place that if you access loan from Bank A, you can't run to a Bank B. So you're already a bad debtor if you don't pay back. So I think the scenario is changing. You know, people now recognize the need to pay back. And then when government is involved, that's where we try to play it low to let them know that, look, and that's why we don't want to deal with individuals. We are dealing with associations. Within associations, they have rules.
Yes.
And they know that if you don't pay back, other members of the association will not benefit. So they make sure they push their members. When they access loan, they pay back so that others can benefit. Okay. You know, so those are some of the areas, and we are trying to educate them as much. We are playing the advocacy role to let people know that, look, when you access loan and you don't pay back, you are denying others.
Sure.
And then you give yourself bad name, you know, because you are now a bad debtor. You won't be able to access any other money again in Nigeria. You know, so I think the scenario is changing.
All right, Ruth, you took that follow-up question almost directly from my mouth, because I was worried about payment and repayment of those loans.
And one thing that we also need to do, because from experience, you know, I was in Canada, I think a few years ago, to study their development bank. What they do, when they give you loan, they put a certain percentage of the loan for business development support services. So they will be the one to engage a consultant who will be with you all the way, who will make sure that you are due for export, he assists you to go to export. Your product packaging is not good, the consultant will assist you to increase on your product packaging. Okay. So, and they are recording over 90% payback. But
those consultants, are they free for?
No, that's what I'm saying. It's built into the loan. Okay. But people pay back, and people also are able to enhance their businesses. So it is a two-way thing. You know. So because of that, you know, you already know that when you are taking a loan, maybe 5% of it, it's to give you a consultant who will be with you all the way. Okay. They help you to identify markets. They solve all your problems for you, and then you are able to pay back.
That's interesting.
So we may also, those are possibilities that we are also, when we have the opportunity, talking to our banks, we will try at our own level to see that, okay, if you access loan, we can give you advisory services. We can try to fill that gap. But if the banks too are ready to also make certain percentage, very little percentage, just to get
Encourage
people, yes,
them.
because we have certified the number of business development service providers. They're out there. We can make their register known to the banks, and then you can use them for a little fee so that you can guarantee that your money will come back.
Ruth, I want to
Go
talk
ahead.
about something else. So you mentioned knowledge and skills for these MSMEs. I know you have an SME clinic, which is to train people, I think, digitally. So what are you doing about that? Because we know that technology is very important for MSMEs to thrive, especially now with so many things happening. Of course, COVID-19 is still with us and a couple of other issues around. So how are you putting together this training at your SME?
Okay, you have said two things. The clinic is different.
Okay.
The clinic is for you to come and diagnose, just like you walk into an hospital. It's to come and diagnose the problem you're having with your business, or to come and ask questions. Or if you want to go into business, what can I go into? How can I access funds? So the clinic is more like a diagnostic center where you can walk in and then we assist you with all the information you need, and then we can now serve as linkage. Maybe you already have products. You don't have NAFDAC number. It's free.
Okay.
So maybe you already have products. You are having problem accessing NAFDAC certification. We can feed that gap for you. You need standard organization. You don't even know who to approach. We can fill that gap for you. That's about the clinic.
But are Nigerians responding? Do they even know about the clinic?
No,
are
yes.
they attending
No, they know.
the clinics?
They know. We have a daily record of people walking into the clinics, and we track them.
Okay.
Yes, no, it's been very effective.
Okay.
In fact, it was from the idea of the clinic and the SME opportunity fair that we normally do that we sold to the office of the vice president, and then we are now having these clinics across the country. And when the clinic started, the first thing the vice president did was to make sure that NAFDAC brought down some costs. And that was when NAFDAC now gave some people leeway to even produce certain things in their backyard. Before, you must get, okay, 3 rooms, you must get this, get that, but some of those things have been relaxed. You know, so the clinic has really done a lot in that regard. Now, for the digital training, we are partnering a private sector organization, Safita Limited, to have a platform where people can be doing their business and be doing training. There are different trainings out there, and a lot of people have been able to access the platform. So you don't need to leave the comfort of where you are doing your business to go to a classroom. Okay. So you can register if your problem is keeping your accounts. You can register on that platform that you want training just to know how to run your account.
Is it also free?
It's not totally free.
Okay.
You know, when things are totally free, people don't value it.
True.
So, but you pay a stipend, we now write off because we have a way of reducing the cost.
Part of a follow-up to what Moplang asked, the registration exercise. I know there's a mass registration exercise SMEDAN organizes, and the marketplace database for the beginning of this year, SMEDAN says about 3 million. The level of participation, while I kept asking, is it free? Is it free? There's a reason. If people know it's free, or they have to pay a certain stipend to get involved and expand their business or grow rather, what is the level of participation? If you're saying something that will help you become lucrative, why are people embracing it, taking advantage of the opportunities SMEDAN is providing?
A lot of people are taking advantage. Okay. And recently we have an inroad. You know, like I said, that banks also need to make sure that people are accessing funds. So recently we signed an MOU with Zenith Bank. Zenith Bank is ready to train 2,500 people on the platform. You know, but especially mostly their customers, so that they can fill this gap that I spoke about. You know, so, but people are really responding. And then the idea of the mass registration is for us to have a lot of information on those that we serve. And then it will now help us to reach them. For example, when I say our staff will go out now, to go and provide advisory services, we are going to go on that platform because we've given them a unique number. So we can attach you as a staff to 50 entrepreneurs and you report on them virtually every week online so that we know the progress we are making. And then if you have issues, we help you to solve the issues. So the mass registration is really helping us for that. For the marketplace data, the idea of that is for us to have a lot of information so that we can match make. So that if somebody is producing fish feed in Area 11, so why do you need to go and get your fish feed from Nasarawa if you now know? So if we know that you're a fish farmer, you need to be linked with a fish feed mill or fish meal producer, then we link you.
Okay.
That platform allows us to do that.
Okay.
If you are producing coconut oil, you don't need to go to Lagos to go and buy coconuts because somebody is already bringing them in large quantity to Abuja. So
Which is quite
thereby,
commendable.
so it is to serve as linkage, within them because somebody's raw material is somebody's end product.
Sure.
So we will be able to do all this seamlessly so that we can provide markets for a number of our MSMEs.
So are you doing all these things alone as an agency or you have partnership with other organizations?
No, where necessary, we have partnership.
Okay.
Like we're partnering with Export Promotion Council if we have SMEs that need to go into exports. Okay. We are partnering with the Industrial Training Fund to build skills while we now bring in business know-how to complement those that they have given skills. And then we are partnering, like Bank of Industry, we refer people there to access fund. We have a matching fund program where we are partnering Bank of Agri, Fidelity, and some other banks. So in some areas, we don't do it alone. And we also have a lot of development partners that are willing to work with us. For example, the national policy for the implementation, GIZ is supporting us. And we have the investment reform, climate reform that has helped us to even put in place a coordination mechanism for the implementation of the policy. For the first time now, we have 36 focal representatives of some MDAs that we are working together on the implementation of the policy. So because we have an implementation matrix, we've identified the role for each MDA that has one thing or the other to do with SMEs. So for the first time, we have a proper implementation plan, and the civil society will monitor us to know whether we are actually implementing the policy or whether the policy is just in the shelf somewhere.
That's you just brought it out of my mouth, in the shelf, because Nigeria has beautiful policies that a lot of people have come out to say they're just there in the shelf. And it's good you're devising strategies for the effective implementation of these policies. But let's look at the foundation, catching the young ones. I know a lot of, when we're looking at innovation and entrepreneurial spirit, we cannot take it from Nigerians. And you get to see a lot of young people, even in secondary schools, who are already doing a lot, who want to do a lot. Is SMEDAN looking to that direction, to help schools get involved, help young minds, build them up from the foundation?
Yeah, we have a program addressing that.
Okay.
We have TNEDEP for Tertiary Institution Entrepreneurship and Development Program. We have the INSEP, National School Entrepreneurship Program, where we look at secondary and primary school. In fact, we are currently in the field to train their teachers so that when teachers now go back to school, they can properly identify talents and see how to support them. We're also encouraging them to have entrepreneurship clubs in schools, and very soon they will start having competitions within secondary schools, within primary schools, and then in tertiary institutions. And we also have a program called Talent Hunt. So the Talent Hunt program look at people with innovative ideas, young people, and then once you win that Talent Hunt program, we support you to start that particular idea. And moving forward, we also want to make sure that in all the 23 industrial development centers that is under us, we have innovation hubs where young people can work in. There will be computers to use, there will be people to give them some kind of mentoring and all that, so that they can actually make sure that their inventions are brought to the marketplace.
All right, let's hold this conversation just for a moment because we have to take a break. We're back. Stay tuned. Could make someone set out on a journey and not get to his or her destination.
Extremely
Now,
important.
imagine a victim who cannot reach out to these responders, who doesn't even have the phone to reach out. Hello, thank you very much for joining us on platform. I'm Ruth Aguela.
And a girl, especially if the girl is a minor, she's not yet 18 years, if she gets pregnant, realize that such girl is sent out of school and the boy is left in school.
Just park to pick the call.
So how much sensitization is the FRS?
I don't agree. A lot of people are just defiant.
Sees that the Buhari-led administration has made remarkable progress.
Like Lafia Transmission Station nearing completion.
Africa does not need charity, but partnerships that will promote the adequate investment.
With the cooperation of all.
Sharing firsthand the experiences of reporters on the field as they bring to you weekly the beauty of Nigeria's diverse culture and the economic potentials therein. The Correspondents, development through the eye of the grassroots, showing every Monday at 1:30 p.m. on the network service of the NTA, with a repeat broadcast on NTA News 24 and NTA International. Join us.
All right, thanks for staying tuned. We're still talking harnessing MSMEs for national development. And our guest, Mr. Fasonya, was just telling us about innovative ideas SMEDAN is putting in place to ensure they catch the young ones at an early stage. Thank you for that. I know Muplang wants to ask a question following that.
Yes, I want to take you back a bit. When you were talking about donor agencies, something came to my mind. We've had reports where some donor agencies and even development banks and a couple of others have turned down MSMEs due to what they call integrity issues. What are you doing about it? I know you mentioned something similar to that, but there were something they call debarment of MSMEs. How is it happening in Nigeria, and what are you doing to make sure that it doesn't continue again?
Yeah, but you know, mostly in Nigeria, development partners don't go directly to SMEs. When they have intervention programs, they come through government agencies that are relevant. No, I don't see, like the Japanese one I mentioned, that they brought donor funding, they had to go through national planning and the agency in charge of MSMEs. That's what they usually do.
So how are they reacting to that? Would they come back again?
No, they are. In fact, we recently got approval that with the Commonwealth, there is a Commonwealth fund that is coming. The Commonwealth is going to assist us to train youth and women in some specialized areas. We're going to have boot camps. We are going to, they are. You know, that is, we recently even met with the African Development Bank. They have programs for SMEs. The GIZ is in about 6 states supporting MSMEs. Through state governments, so they are here. There is a lot of donor funding.
But it would seem that you're doing quite a lot. The agency is doing a lot. How are you able to, you know, put together all of these programs that you've been talking about? Is it not somewhat overwhelming, because it seems that there's a whole lot to be done?
Oh, yes, there's a whole lot.
Yeah,
well, there's a whole lot to be done, and then you know we have offices in all the 36 states. Okay. And we also work with some NGOs, so it's not just us. Okay. And I mentioned before that we have business development service providers who also work with us. So there are times that we engage consultants, there are times that we do it directly ourselves. You know, there is no way. The population of MSMEs in Nigeria, according to recent survey with NBS, is 39 million. It used to be 41 million, but post-COVID, it dropped to 39. So you can imagine. So we need to go extra length. And that's why we are really know most of these programs. And most of these programs are based on what we have found out in the field. You know, we don't want to just sit at Abuja and be rolling out programs. Most of our programs are not just from the supply side. They were based on demand side, you know. So we cannot afford, you know, not to touch all areas that are important, So we find a way around it, and we use a lot of field officers, like I said. Hopefully, by next year, we also plan to boost the level of to boost our number of staff. And we're also appealing to states to have volunteer corps of young guys that we can train, so that those guys will be complementing our efforts in the states to provide BDS to a number of MSMEs.
Would they be like a form of ad hoc staff? Or?
They will be not our staff. Okay. State government will encourage youths. Okay. If state government bring like 100, that's why we're calling them volunteers. So there are people that are not yet in employment. So if you are paying them 20,000, 30,000 every month, and we train them to go out there and provide business development services.
Why they also get trained
They
with
will also get trained, and they also even have their own businesses by the side. Okay. But we can use them to go to the field and provide advisory services, because we will give them specialized training.
So let's put the spotlight on some special persons, talking about persons with disabilities. Just some weeks back, SMEDAN announced that there will be special opportunity fairs for the persons with disabilities. And I found your words quite commendable at the fair. It was a capacity building fair where you said the people with special needs are making inroad and redefining entrepreneurship as a route to socio-economic development. Why the target?
Yes, one, we did some study, and we found out that most of these people that with special abilities, let's use that word, most of them are disabled physically, but not mentally.
Yes.
And because, they sit in one place, they are able to do things with some level of expertise, because they take their time. So we saw their products, and we see that, these are people that need a lot of support. So we trained, I think, 100 in Lagos. We are going somewhere in the north to train another 100, I think in Katsina, because we are looking at where there are many. There is a survey, in terms of how many people with disabilities in different states, It's an experiment that we started this year. So during the training, we see the need to let the outside world know that these people can produce nice products. And so I was touched. And I now said, look, moving forward, we will organize special fairs for people with disabilities so that they can showcase their product. And then we will try to see how we can link them to markets.
Are you working with the commission, because they have a national commission for persons?
Well, we intend to do that. Okay. But in Lagos State, we are working with Lagos State Employment Agency, who has also trained about 1,000. So those 1,000 people living with disabilities, we will add them to the field that we train. We trained just 100 because we wanted to give them seed capital. And, we rely on budget. So we didn't have much money, but moving forward, for next year budget, we are still going to put some money in our budget to be able to impact on this category of people.
You know why I asked about the commission? Because that's where you get a direct link and you hear first-hand information on what their areas of concerns are.
Their areas of need and all that.
Yes.
No, we'll definitely do that.
Okay.
We'll work with the commission.
Ruth, another group of people that we should be talking about is us. Talking about women. It's been said that when you educate
a woman,
you educate a nation. So it
True.
means when you empower a woman, you empower the nation.
Virtually all
especially rural women.
Yes.
Virtually all our programs are targeted at women and youth. We are now the endangered species, the men.
Really?
Because, but honestly, research have shown that even when women access loan, they pay back. But when we do, you take it from us.
We are good managers.
No, you take it from us.
When it comes to managing the home, managing money, we are good at it.
Honestly, we have a lot of programs targeting women. Like the rural women that you spoke, we are working with a lot of rural women in agric.
Okay.
And we have seed funds for them. We are providing them equipment to assist them in their production. And when we look at our One Local Government, One Product program, 70% are women. because we have a lot of women that are in the rural areas producing palm oil, producing groundnut oil, doing shea butter, so they are in the same value chain businesses. So it's easy for us to support them, So, and then most times it's easy for us to organize them into groups. And then we also look at clusters. Now, most of the clusters we are targeting are women-based clusters to support. So we are doing a lot for women.
Okay, what about the youths?
In fact, the national policy, that's why I say women and youth. Okay. So women are benefiting from programs for youth, and they are benefiting from the one that's strictly for women. So
because we're everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
All right, and as part of strategy for SMEDAN, I hear you're planning to leverage partnership with the D8 region to promote and advance support for SMEs. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I was actually in Bangladesh to make presentation to the D8 when they had their council meeting. And we proposed two things. One, we are going to have a D8 SME forum, because we find out that most of the member countries of D8, are countries that SMEs are the bedrock of their economy, So we went there and then we said, look, let's have a D8 forum on SMEs. Let's have other countries bringing their products to Nigeria. And then we will also bring out some of our good examples. We were to hold it this August, but it's been postponed to end of September. And then the second proposition is, let us have a D8 SME center in Nigeria. It's going to be partly funded by D8, okay. And then we will provide some infrastructure, maybe like office and all that, then D8 will be funding it. So the D8 SME Center will coordinate activities within the D8 countries that has to do with SMEs, because we are contributing to D8 and we are not taking full advantage. Some other countries have different kind of programs, and they bought into it. They love the idea. It's going to be presented again at their next meeting to ratify it. So we believe that by next year, we should be starting off a D8 SME center in Nigeria. But the idea is just to network, to learn from each other, to see how we can also take SMEs from here to Bangladesh, take to Egypt, Unfortunately, it's only, I think, Nigeria and Egypt that are from Africa within the D8. Yes. But other countries that are there too are countries that have the same kind of economy such as ours.
And let's also leverage the opportunity. I'm talking about clarity now. A lot of people will be thinking SMEDAN is training SMEs and doing a lot for SMEs in terms of skills, managerial skills, and how to manage your business and all of that. What is your clear cut? What's the difference with what the National Directorate of Employment is also doing? Because they also help businesses, startups and all of that. They also empower them. So give us a clear cut, just for clarity's sake.
Yes, NDE mostly, what NDE does mostly is to attach people to do apprenticeship. They attach them to master trainers so that they learn a vocation, and they support them. ITF also does similar things. Yes. But the good thing about ITF is that ITF can train you for 6 months. After 6 months, they also give you starter packs. So where we come in is in terms of entrepreneurship training, so that you can run what you have learned when you are doing apprenticeship as a business. So it's one thing to have a vocation, it's one thing to know how to run it as a business.
Okay.
You can even go to university and be a doctor. That does not mean you can run an hospital.
True.
So if you know how to do something and you don't know how to run it as a business, then there is a gap. So that's what we try to fill. And I used to tell people, it's no longer teach me how to fish. We also need to teach you what to do with the fish. Because we can teach you how to fish, and you now have the fish and you let it rotten, then it becomes useless.
So an entrepreneur now can go to NDE, learn the skills.
Yeah, you can learn the skill, and then we can take you up, and then we will now take you on, provide advisory services, build your capacity to know how to run your account. People in the marketplace, some of them don't even know that it's not good when you sell. It's not good to take care of your family just like that. You should be paying yourself salary. Simple techniques so that they can know, separate the money for the business from the money they use to run the family. You know, some people don't even know that. It's the same purse. So those are little things that we teach them. And then if you're an SME, you don't necessarily have to be the one producing the product, packaging the product, looking for markets. Some of these things can be outsourced so that you will be producing, you can outsource your packaging material. A lot of people don't know this.
Everything you're saying sounds so interesting, so, you know, captivating. But I'm trying to go back to what Ruth said earlier. Do people actually know about this thing?
That's what was also in
They know.
Knowledge is
you know,
power.
our population,
because
our
you're
population
educating us
is
now.
large.
How many people know about this?
A lot of people. Our population is large. If I tell you, as I'm talking to you now, in the past 3 weeks, we've been in the States. Last week, we were in all the eastern states. The week before, we were all in northwest states. And that's how we are going around, you know, to train people. For example, last week in all the southeastern states, we trained and then we gave them starter packs. And these are people that we will now monitor because we're also doing impact assessment of our programs. We don't just go out there and do and then we move back. And so the things are going on. But Nigeria is big.
Let's be fair to your office because you're still new, not up to 6 months, just not even up to 3 months.
But I'm not new in the system.
That's where I'm getting to. So you're not new in the system, you're new with
And that's why there is smooth transition. That's why I'm not learning the ropes.
Okay, which is why what we're trying to do is to make sure it's in the roadmap, your roadmap at the helm of affairs to ensure that there is a radical sensitization. SMEs has to grow in Nigeria if we want our economy to stand up.
Let me tell you 2 things that we are doing differently.
Okay.
You know, I led the team that drew up our strategic management plan. And we did this based on the new national policy. So that the policy does not say A and we are doing B. So everything is intertwined. And that is our roadmap. And like I just told you, because I have a fear of an idea where the shoe pinches SMEs. And since I started, I've been just within those 2 months, I've been to no less than about 10 states to talk to stakeholders, to even hear from them. And I've been telling them, I'm coming with an open mind. We don't want to assume that we know anything. So I want to discuss with you. Let me harvest inputs that we will use to run our programs. And that's why I said most of our programs are now based on the demand side, not just from the supply side. And when you do that, it's so easy to impact. Because I know some things are outside our purview, like infrastructure.
Okay.
But what can we do to bridge that gap? We look at clusters that can have common facilities. So if you come together and you are able to have generator and you have solar power and you now share the cost of buying diesel, you have provided your own power in a way. If you come together and you are producing the same kind of raw materials, you can identify markets together, or you can access raw materials together. It will help you.
So in few words, we're about to round up. What would you tell Nigerians, especially those who are just watching at home and they're having that business ideas and all of that? What's your final message to them?
My final word is that you think big but start small, and then come, let us advise you before you go into business.
Right. Thank you very much for your time and educating us. I'm sure Moplang will be having some business ideas now that we want to develop after this conversation.
Don't worry, when you're about to retire from NTA, you can
We don't have to wait to retire. You see, that's
but if you accept agribusiness,
we're allowed to do agribusiness.
Go into other businesses.
There's a long value chain to agriculture.
No, definitely we'll also be able to come in handy. I told you we have an agribusiness department, just to give emphasis to agri.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fasonya, for your time, this insightful conversation, and for educating us and Nigerians. We wish SMEDAN the very best. And as you you know, settling into your tenure to serve SMEDAN and Nigerians. We hope you bring out the best.
Definitely.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Moplank, thank you very much for your time on
Yes, and thank you very much, Ruth, for having me on platform today.
All
Thank
right.
you.
It was a pleasure. All right, we've been talking about harnessing MSMEs for national development. There's a whole lot Nigeria can harness. Human capital development is just one way out if we want to see the results, yield results rather, in our economy. That's Platform. I'm Ruth Aguele.